What up, YouTube Live? How's it going, everybody? Mm. Welcome to another special live stream segment. This is yours truly, Rama Screen, covering movies, TV, and entertainment, and I'm here to give you my live review of today's Doom Patrol new episode. It's season 1, episode 9, titled Jane Patrol. Um, Today is gonna be really jam packed, because Star Wars Celebration starts today. Hey, what's up, brother? Dynamic living persons, that's awesome. Um, so before we get to all the Star Wars Celebration palooza that's happening today, including Episode 9 reveal, title reveal, and perhaps teaser, that's gonna really dominate the news the next few days this weekend. I want to give you this my thoughts about today's Doom Patrol episode. I love this show. I really do. I hope that you guys get to watch it too, or want to, or be curious to watch it. It's on DC Universe. That's DC's digital streaming service, and it's not as Doom Patrol. It's not as action packed as Titans live action series. Titans last fall. Titans got more things, physically more things happening over there. Doom Patrol is more, as I mentioned before in my previous reviews, existential soul journeys, introspection, therapy, uh, wrestling with personal demons. That's what Doom Patrol is about. Like, I mean, next week is the season 1 finale. I believe so. I think, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And today, episode 9, you would think that they would be close to, like, finding Mr. Nobody or finding Niall Scaldron, the chief, but no. Once again, it's about a therapy, and this time it really focuses on Jane. We've gone through episodes about Rita Farr coming to terms with, like, you know what? I need to leave the past where it belongs. The past. I'm no longer that golden age Hollywood star. So she takes off the her old photos of the posters off her wall, and of course we've seen episodes about Larry Trainer, Negative Man, also coming to terms or embracing the fact that he's no longer that American hero pilot. And also Cliff Steele, Robot Man, is like struggling with the fact that he can no longer see his daughter. All these individuals are damaged people. They are they are tortured souls. So if you come to watch Doom Patrol's show for the first time and thinking like, oh my god, okay, they're gonna team up and they're gonna figure out each other's powers, and they're gonna find a way to make those powers or abilities work together as a team to take down Mr. Nobody. Yeah, you might want to keep your expectations low, because that's not what this show is all about, actually. And in today's episode, it's fascinating. I love today's episode. We get inside Jane's head, so we get to see many of the 64 personalities that we hadn't seen before. So that's one of the appeals of today's episode. That's one of the reasons why I like today's episode. The other one, excuse me, the other reason is, of course, as I've mentioned to you many times, I am a huge fan of storylines that involve insane asylums or hallucination, psychedelic trip, things that are not actually there in reality. Like in today's episode, you get inside Jane's head, and it's like going down the rabbit hole. You're in this Alice in Wonderland type of story, but it's not wonder. It's like really dark and grim and gloomy. But you go through one door, and then it's like, oh, that's just a memory. That's not Jane. And then you go through the next door. You don't know where that might lead. I love that. I love episodes like this because it's full of unexpected stuff, and anything goes, anything can happen in episodes like this one. So so that's the other reason why I love it. It's it's cool to see that many of the 64 personalities that Jane has in this episode, that they are performed or played by other actors. So I was a little concerned. I thought it was going to be like all Diane Guerrero. That's the actress name who plays Jane. I thought it was going to be like a multiplicity movie the one that stars Michael Keaton. I thought we were going to go like that, but no, I'm glad that it's like, okay, we get to see different faces, different face for Hammerhead, different face for Penny Harding, different face for the nun with a chainsaw, and it's so cool. It's so cool. This this mine of hers, it's called the Underground. So it's not the sunken place that's Get Out, but it's the underground. And just like most undergrounds in North America or in Europe, they have subway trains or they have tubes. And guess who the driver is? Of course, it's another personality, and this one is played by Diane Guerrero. Her name is, I think, the character's name is Driver B, I think. And so she purposely stops the train to let Jane figure her shit out. And in comes along Penny Harding. Penny tries to help Jane because they're this lake, and they're like, well, whose memory is this? I don't remember being at this lake when I was a kid. Um, and lo and behold, turns out that lake is from the puzzle piece or puzzle game that Jane was constructing when she was a kid. Um, Jane goes to this three sister head, I want to say, and they tell her to go to this well, and this well is a very, very dark place. If you think that the underground is already dark, the well is even darker, even more twisted, and I think it's a place where there's no coming back from, and that's what makes the well scary. It definitely scares Penny. Now, in this episode, um, in the real world, or not in the real world, yeah, I guess you could say the real world, the Doom Patrol world, they're trying to resuscitate or revive Jane, right? Because last episode, Jane was Karen, and then bam, Karen gets taken down again, and now Jane is in this coma state, if you will. And Rita, Cyborg, Cliff, and Negative Man trying to like get her to wake up. And so Negative Man comes out from Larry Cherry's body, and he helps Cliff Steele enter Jane's head. And so what we see here in this episode is fascinating. We see Brendan Fraser, the actor Brendan Fraser, like 80% of the time, it's him inside Jane's mind. And I gotta say, I don't mean to be mean. All right, don't get me wrong. But if I say this, it's just you've grown up, right? Like me, you've grown up watching Brendan Fraser in movies like Encino Man, The Mummy, The Mummy Returns. He was the it guy back then, and then he's gone for a long while, and now he's back, and he's got a big belly, dude. This guy has a beer keg belly. He's walking around with Cliff Steele's jacket and jeans. But it's Brendan Fraser, and you can see the shirt is like hanging out. Is his belly? It's like, wow, Brendan Fraser has let himself go. Huh? What do you know? Now, I'm not trying to make fun of him. I'm just saying that sometimes people get older, and when people get older, that's what happens to them. I have a belly too. When I was in my 20s, I was like ripped, six pack abs and everything. I worked out a lot. But sometimes we let ourselves go, and in this case, Brendan Fraser has certainly did. This is not the Brendan Fraser from Encino Man and the Mummy movies, definitely so. Uh, but But Brendan Fraser's wit and ability to be snarky but gentle at the same time, he still has that. He still has that, and he channels that in through this character Cliff Steele. And of course, Cliff Steele, the writers of this show are really, really pushing for Cliff Steele to be the father figure of Jane. And but Jane, of course, still, I know you're not my father. Stop trying to play like my father. Now we get to see in this episode why that is. Why Jane has been reluctant to place her trust in somebody, let alone a father figure like Cliff Steele or Robot Man. And the reason is because she was abused when she was a kid by her own biological father. And and so in this episode, Jane goes through different realms in her mind to get to the well, and she is at the point. Yeah, she's at the point of quitting. She's at the point of like giving up. She's like, why do I need to go back up there again? Yeah, I'm a primary, but there's nothing for me up there. There's no purpose. There's no point for me being up there. And I think this past that haunts her really, really, it's gotten to the point where she's like, you know what? I'm just gonna give in to this thing, this past. I'm not gonna fight it anymore. There's no point in me fighting anymore. So she's really giving up. This episode is a very powerful episode for those of us who have gone through depression, who have gone through suicidal thoughts, um, and for whatever reason that may be, like not a lot of people. I certainly have gone through that phase when I was in college, and I wasn't abused when I was a kid. Um, but people go through depression for many reasons, and the point of giving up. And so I can relate to that. And and when you're at that dark place, you feel like if somebody comes and say, "Hey, let me help you. I want to help you." Your thoughts are like you really beat yourself up. You get like, why would you want to help me? Like, you can't help me. I can't even help myself. I'm beyond help. There's no helping me. And so those kinds of thoughts run through your head when you feel like you're worthless, and the only way out is just to go out, if you catch my drift. So it's a very powerful episode, at least in my opinion, for those of us who've gone through such horrible, horrible thoughts. And it's the journey that Cliff Steele takes in this episode to really get Jane to go back up into the surface. That itself is also a testament. Like, he genuinely cares for Jane. Like, anybody else probably would have given up the effort. I mean, for Cliff Steele, if anybody else but Cliff Steele will be like, you know what? All right, so you don't want me here? All right, f you. I'm gonna go out too. Like, I'm gonna go the other direction and screw you. You want to be here? Fine, have it your way. But Cliff Steele's like really like, obviously it comes from a place where he, as evident in this episode, when he says to that one witch, like, hey, I'm not a man, I'm a robot. I used to be a man. I used to be less, somebody less. Now I'm not. So it comes from a place of regret, a little bit of a regret there, because he feels like, oh, when I was a man, when I was alive back then, I wasn't there for my daughter. Now, I'm not this, man anymore, but I'm much better now. In terms of actually caring for somebody else than just myself. And so that's what he means. And because of the nature of the characters and the nature of the show, the way they express it's of course it's done through f-bombs and curse words and rough around the edges. And so to somebody who may have been raised in a nice, loving, environment, uh, maybe they would be, or they would find Cliff Steele's genuine care to be kind of repulsive, because like, whoa, like what's with all this anger, and also Jane as well. She's an angry soul. Um, but that's the only way they can express it. That's the only way they can express it, because of what they've gone through in their experience. But it's so powerful, that moment when Robot Man comes out, replacing Brendan Fraser or Cliff Steele, and it's like, hey, I used to be a man, I used to be less. Now I'm better. Now I know better. Now I can be better. I want to be there for Jane, and that gets me right here, man. That gets me right here. What a fascinating episode. I love that character, Penny. She looks and sounds like somebody out of the Oliver Twist book, or one of the chimney workers in Mary Poppins movie. Hello. So British, so British. Um, Hammerhead looks awesome. She looks like Sinead O'Connor with darkened eyes, or eyeshadows. I want to. If only we get to see more of the nun with the chainsaw. That personality looks so interesting. I want to know what she does. Um, and it's also a fascinating fact that the rest of the 64 personalities, with the exception of probably Hammerhead or Karen and some other guys, most of them don't want to be the primary. Most of them don't want to be the one in charge up in the surface. They really want Jane to be, steering the wheel. And they call it equilibrium. It's like a balance. If you're up there, then we'll be okay down here. So that's an interesting thing, at least my opinion. Again, I never read Doom Patrol comic books. I did not grow up reading Doom Patrol comic books growing up. Those of you who did probably would know more and can correct me in some of the facts here. But just based on this show, based on this episode alone, I freaking love it. Again, though, we're still far from finding Mr. Nobody and Chief, and yet next week is season finale. So I'm like, whoa. Usually, like for example, last night, Star Trek Discovery, the first part of the two-parter season finale, you can tell it's getting really serious. Battle's coming. And it's like, oh my God, stakes are high. People are saying goodbye to each other, and they're becoming a team. They're working together. But it's like, why are we not getting any closer to finding Chief? And it's already episode 9. But I'm not complaining, because I really, really, really genuinely like this episode. There's something. If you watch this episode and you've gone through depression and suicidal thoughts yourself, you will find this episode oddly therapeutic. It has that. I know it sounds silly, it's just a show, but it has that healing ability. Like, oh my God, yeah. I can't go through this on my own. I gotta be open to the idea of somebody else helping me through this. So I think that is something that I can take away from this episode, and I hope that people can take away from this episode as well the same. So I love it, love it. Another fantastic Doom Patrol episode. Hopefully next week we'll see Chief or Mr. Nobody. I miss Timothy Dalton. I miss Alan Tudyk. And of course, if you catch today's episode, you also notice, like, by the time Jane wakes up, she still has that Karen's bride dress. And Cliff asks Cyborg and Rita's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" Because there's a mess in the room. Because a Negative Man, of course, when Negative Man comes up, that causes Larry Trainer to also pass out. So Larry Trainer doesn't know either. So that's another question. Is like, whoa, what did Cyborg and Rita Farr do, or what were they doing when all of this was happening? So, scandalous. I can't wait. So that's it. That's my long rant, my review of today's Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 9. Um, Another great episode. It's titled Jane Patrol, focusing on Jane. That's why. And share your thoughts in the comment section below. And subscribe. Press that like button, ring that bell, and stay tuned because today is the first day of Star Wars Celebration 2019. So I will be back also, hopefully later in the afternoon or in the evening, to give you update about the news that will come out from Star Wars Celebration that's happening in Chicago. They're gonna bust out the official title of Star Wars Episode 9 and probably the teaser as well, whatnot. So stay tuned. There'll be more epicness coming. All right. Tell everybody about this channel, youtube.com/ramascreen1, and help support me at patreon.com/ramascreen. Thank you, everybody. As always, let's rock this.